So today I'm going to be teaching you how to graph vertex form. This is the vertex form equation. So for now, I'm just going to start by telling you what each variable means. So obviously, so here, a, the variable a means it tells you whether your parabola, which you know is the parabola is the line you're going to get when you graph something in quadratics, meaning that it's perfectly symmetrical on each side. I'm just going to tell you that now. It's on the top of the website. If you need to check more, just go up, scroll up, and you'll see it and you'll learn more. So, anyways, A tells you whether your parabola is either going to be stretched, so very thin, or compressed, like this. So, when you get your stretched one, it's usually when you have a whole number. So, let's say 1 or 7 or -8, okay? Right? So, that's when you get your stretch. But if you're getting a compressed one, if you're getting a compressed, it's usually when your A is in fact is like a factored number. So, let's say -0.2 or 0.68. So when the decimal is lower than 1 as well. Okay? So that's what your A does for you. Also, if there's a sign in front of your, let's say it's negative, then it's your parabola is going to be opening downward on the graph. But if it's positive, it's going to be opening upward. Okay? So that's going to be that. So now that's your A. Your H, so H tells you how your parabola is going to horizontally move on the graph. So let's say it horizontally moves to the left, it horizontally moves to the right, so stuff like that, right? So also another tip for this is that when you, since your H, since it says negative in here, right? So let's say it's x minus 2. When you're going to write it outside, due to it being your vertex along with k, because your vertex is equal to h and k, that's your vertex, your maximum points. Um, you're gonna have to switch this sign. I know it says negative in it, but you need to switch it so that when it's negative, it's going to move to the right, okay? So let's say it's -2, I'm gonna go, but since it's negative, I move to the right, which is gonna be 1, 2, and my parabola is gonna be right there. But if it was +2, positive goes to the left. So then it's gonna go over here 2 times and it's going to be over here. Due to it being positive, it moves to the left, meaning it's going to be -2k. If it's +2, if it's x plus 2. If it's x plus 2, then your vertex is going to be -2 and k. But if it was -2, if it was -2, x -2, then over here it's going to be 2k. So yes, when you take it out, like when you're about to plot it, the negative sign changes or the positive sign changes. But yeah, H tells you whether, like, how far by units it moves horizontally. Then you have your K, which tells you how your parabola vertically moves up or down on the graph. So let's say maybe it's here, maybe it says -3, so you're going to go down by 3 and put it there. So it goes like vertically up or down. That's what K tells you. So now that you understand what each variable means, we could like go back to graphing. I just need you to like be sure about that. Okay? So here. So there's going to be one equation that you're going to need that's going to help you. So there's going to be one equation you surely need to help you solve other equations. So for example, the thing is, so like you just can't solve 3 um x minus 2 square minus 8 just like that, right? You're going to need something to help you to get your table values, which you all know helps you get your points. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, like that. It's going to, your table values helps you get your points so you could plot it, right? So you just can't get that. We'll get back to that later. But first I'm going to teach you the basic equation that helps you graph others. So the basic equation is y equals x squared. So this is your y equals x squared. This is going to help you solve other equations. Okay, so here, first you need your table of values to understand this. So x and y. So the numbers I'm going to choose is 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. Okay, So here, since it's x, you're gonna sub in the 2 into the x, okay? So it's 2, and since there's a square square, so 2 times 2 equals 4. Then your next number is 1. You're gonna sub it in. It's gonna be 1, 0, it's 0. And then see here, it might say negative, so you're expecting -1 or something. But to be honest, when you're timesing it, negative 1, it equals 1. So obviously it's gonna be 1, and then this one's gonna be 4. So you see how these numbers are alike? It's due to being it a parabola, meaning the same two numbers, like same points to get your perfect curve, right? So here's your equation that you're going to need for mostly all equations to solve easily. So here's your main one. So let's start with, so here's your x, okay? So let's add a number to it. Let's do y equals x squared plus 2. Okay, so now we have a plus 2 here. So we're going to get our table of values, right? But the thing is, I don't know what to do yet. So we're going to use a formula called mapping formula. Here, mapping formula. This formula is going to help you. It like basically groups part of the equation to help you solve it here to get your table of values. Here, I'll show you. So this is how you're going to group it. So this is your x. It's not in a group. It has nothing here because you know our normal equation, how it's x minus h. That's going to be our main equation, right? So that's why there's nothing here. So it's just going to be x. Here, I'll write it down here. It's just going to be x, okay? So then for y, since there's a y over here, it's going to be y, and then here's your k, plus 2, okay? So then due to it being the y, obviously the y-axis, you're going to use your k, which helps you tell you how it vertically moves up or down. X tells you how it horizontally, so it's not going to go with y, right? So that's why it's going to be y plus 2. So you're going to get your y, put it over here. You're going to get your x, put it here. So obviously, put in x, it's going to be 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. You see how I'm using the main equation, the basic equation, to solve for my table values. This is why you need to remember. It's going to be 41014. You need to remember this. Okay, so now, as you can see, we're going to sub in 4 to the y. So 4 plus 2, which then gives us 6. And then later we're going to put in the next number, 1. So then 1 plus 2 equals 3. Then 1 0. It's going to be 2. And due to it being a parabola, the points are going to be the same. So as you can see, 3 and 6, right? Which gives us a perfect curve, symmetrical. So we got the table of values from y equals x squared plus 2, and we use y equals x squared. Also, the mapping formula. Okay, now that you have your table of values for this equation, you can now graph it because you have your points to get the parabola. Okay, so here's the graph. Here's your 1 and a 2. Sorry, that's a 2. Anyways, so see, so on your x, you go to 6, you go to 1 to 3, 0 to here. You see -1, 3, -2, 6. And you see how they're identical? And here's your parabola. Sorry, it's not a perfect parabola, but like you get what I mean. Here's your parabola, and there. You graphed this equation. You just learned how to graph y equals x squared plus 2 with the help of y equals x squared. And here's your parabola. Okay, so that's how you graph a parabola for y equals x squared plus k. So obviously this is k, right? But I just put in a 2, but it's like k. So you learn how to do that now. So how about keeping this here, because it's our helpful hand to do this, how about we start to add a different number? Let's add 3x squared plus 2. Let's add 3x squared, okay? Like, whoa, we have another number. Wow. Okay, so here's our, obviously, our table values. So we're going to group it now. Since we have a new number, I'll show you how to group this one, okay? So obviously x, you know in the form it was x minus h, there's nothing there. So x is still alone, okay? Now that we have a 3 here, which is our a, we're going to have to times it with y. So it's going to be 3y. Remember this, when there's a number in front of the x, it goes to the y's group, not the x's group. It goes to the y, and you're timesing it by the y, plus 2. Okay? So you're going to give your x this one, You're going to give your y this one. So normal thing, it's going to be 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2. Then here is where it changes. You put in 4 here, so you're doing 3 times 4 now. 3 times 4, which is 12, plus 2, 14. Okay? You see how you're timesing it now? So if you put in 3, it goes to 5. If you put in 0, 0 times 3 is 0, right? So you're just going to add 2. So it's going to be 2. But now, since it's also a parabola, you can see if you put in the 1 here, it's going to turn into 5 and 14. And there, simple like that. Here, take a moment to like understand it. Let's revise what we did. So we have a 3x here now that's in the place of the a. We're just going to group it for mapping formula. This is our mapping formula. X, nothing with x, so it's alone. You leave the numbers. Y, since there's a 3, you're going to times 3 and y plus 2 plus your k, right? So then you're going to get these numbers, sub it in, go there, and these are your points. Now you could graph your parabola, okay, since you have your points. Good, now we have the a. Let's add another number now that we understand that part. We're going to keep this here, obviously. So it's going to be y equals 3 bracket x minus 2 bracket plus 5. Whoa, look, we actually got the bracket. This is our normal equation. This is our normal equation for vertex form. And we got it. We're reaching the part. This is probably the last part of knowing how to graph it. Am I right? So here, okay, this is our last form. We kept this here because it's helping us, okay? Like you could erase it if you understand how to do without it, but I personally believe it helps me more to understand it, okay? So here, so now that we have that, we're going to do our table of values, okay? So same thing. Now that x is not alone, we're going to have to write it. We're going to do our mapping formula using these two to help us get our points for this equation. So obviously let's do y first since we understand it. It's going to be 3y plus 5, okay? Here's this one's for your y, okay? But now since x is in a bracket with 2, I'm gonna have to, this is x's part now. But since it's a negative, as I told you in the beginning of this video, how the negative changes when you put it out, so it's gonna be x plus 2. It's going to be x plus 2. I know it says negative, but it switches when you bring it out. So obviously, if it said positive, it's going to turn to x minus 2, right? But like here, we have it negative. So it's going to be x negative 2, which turns to x plus 2. So you're going to bring that x over here. You're going to bring that y over here. So normal stuff like we did before with the other ones, before we had this. But instead, we're going to replace 2 in here in the x due to being in our x values column, and we're going to add 2, right? So then it's going to be 4. You're going to put in 1. It's going to be 3, 0, 2, negative 1. So it's going to be 1 and 0. You see how it's going from 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 instead of 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2? How it changes like that? That's why this part is really important because it's showing us that the parabola is shifting. It's horizontally moving on the x-axis now, right? Since we have it here. And so we're going to do 3 since we learned it. It's going to be, what is that, 12 plus 5, so it's going to be 17. Put in the 1. It's going to be 8. 0 times 3 equals 0, so then it's going to be 5. Obviously, it's a parabola, so it's going to go to 8, 17. And there, you got your table of values. You have your points to graph this equation. And then that's how you graph vertex form. To the help, you have the help of y equals x squared, and you have your mapping formula. And that's it. Now you could graph it. You could graph this here. But don't forget that when you're graphing it, these two are your vertex, obviously, right? Your highest maximum, it's your maximum points. But since it's negative 2, like I said, you're going to change it. It's going to be positive 2 now, right? And 5. Your y does not change. Your y always sticks to the negative. If it's negative 5, then it's negative 5. But your x does. When it's inside the brackets, your h changes. Your h. So if it's positive 2, obviously it's going to be negative, but it's negative, right? Meaning that instead of your parabola being on the left side, remember what I said, negative goes to the right. oh my gosh, goes to the right side, meaning here's your thing, it's gonna be here. Your parabola is gonna be on the right side instead of the left side to negative. It's gonna go on, oh my gosh, it's gonna go on the right side, so that's why it becomes positive. So that's a little tricky. People get confused with that, but it's easy. Once you practice and remember that this always changes, you'll understand it. And then, yeah, that's how you graph vertex form. So let's go over it. So obviously, graphing vertex form, you use the help of a mapping formula. Mapping formula. You use the help of y equals x squared. Obviously, you need to remember that it's x, y, or you could solve it, but it's easy to remember. 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. Easy. This is the two things that can help you graph an equation. These are the two things that can help you graph vertex form. These can help you graph y equals x minus h squared plus k. These two things help you solve that easily. So easy.